Hey guys, CVH here with a quick news video slash, well, not really news, sort of a speculative news video. If you guys aren't on the Elder Scrolls Legends subreddit, first of all, I do encourage you to follow the Reddit, keep up to date with the posts. Some of it's very useful, including this post called Leaked Card Changes, submitted 11 hours ago, as you can see. It links to the image you can see over here, which, if I zoom out, is just a bunch of this. It looks like cards that have been changed. It's from a Russian site, apparently, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but however it happened, someone got their hands on this, posted it, and for the non-English speaking comrades, goes over some of the changes. So for the sake of this, I don't usually do things like this because it hasn't really happened before in this game, but if no other reason than because it seems sort of legit if we really think about it, and they did announce that they're going to do some more nerfs before the official release. Thought I would just take this time to go over my thoughts on these potential leaked changes, and if not these that are going to be able to actually happen, give my thoughts on if I think they're close to what we can expect, and what my thoughts are on these, how Bethesda could improve on them if they are in fact not legit. So with no further ado, let's go through it. Elena will be able to shoot face for 1 when summoned. It currently can only hit a creature, as you can see here. Still costs 6 and everything, so just a solid buff to the card. It's already pretty good. Don't really see why it needed to have happened if they do make this change, but not really much to write home about. It makes it slightly better. It's fine with me. Cool card. Brilliant Experiment now costs 3. Now this one's important. Obviously, Control Mage isn't one of those cards that people are screaming to get nerfed nowadays, but if they do nerf other cards that people do have a problem with, such as a lot of the decks that run green, agility, like Archer midrange, then Control Mage does get better by default. And even with that not being said, Brilliant Experiment is a card that potentially looks like it could be very broken down the line, depending on what other cards get released. The effect is super powerful in certain situations already. Making it cost 3 instead of 2 just limits some of the insane combo potential. Still might see play in the deck. Can't really judge it. Can't really judge any of these changes. First of all, they might not be legit. Second of all, we don't know how. This could really shake up the meta in a certain way. Divine Fervor costs 5. It's one of those things, people ask me if I thought Divine Fervor should get nerfed quite a lot. I didn't think it did, but again, if you're nerfing other cards that need to be nerfed slightly more, then you should probably, keep this card in check. Again, like Brilliant Experiment, not even just using Spell Sword tokens, using a lot of the Crusader decks, and down the line, this card could just be potentially too good, limits deck space, who knows. So Tazcad costs 9, I don't think anyone's really doubting that it's the best finisher in the game. Still arguably among the best finishers in the game, even if it costs 9. Definitely still playable, probably just still about as good as it has been, honestly. I don't see reasons for any of the decks that play it now to take it out. Still a fantastic finisher, but a good change. I agree with that one. Volendrung now gives Breakthrough, so we are seeing buffs weaved in with the nerfs, as we saw with Elena. Tiny buffs, they're not super changing the nature of the cards themselves, but buffs nonetheless, and as people in my stream chat pointed out earlier tonight, it does fit with the flavor of red and the flavor of the card in general. Dumber Nightblade changed Steel Sword from a +3/+0 to an Iron Sword, which is only +2/+0. So I like that. Dumber, I don't think it's regarded as one of the most powerful 2-drops, but it is one of the most powerful aggressive 2-drops in blue. So if that was ever going to limit design space or deck space, changing it to a +2/+0 sword does not anymore. Wonder if that one would still see play. Interesting. So this is one of the ones, the next one coming up, that my stream chat didn't like. Healing Potion now costs 2, but it goes into the thing where it's like one of the most powerful immediate heals. In fact, besides Pillaging Tribune, which kind of requires you to already have a board, this is just the most powerful immediate heal in the game. With Prophecy, they could have taken Prophecy off of it, but it makes sense that it still has it. So Healing Potion and the card that it essentially, this card that Healing Potion comes from in the story mode or whatever when you upgrade, now they simply cost 2. And I think this is fair. I think a lot of decks will still want to play it, but it's not quite as wildly efficient to heal for 5. In the same vein as cards that heal, we have House Kinsman, which is taking the nerf that I think was pretty widely suggested. It was either make Kinsman a 3/2, or give the effect, instead of dealing 3 to your opponent and gaining 3 life to yourself, Norton, please no, I'm trying to record a video here, make it only 2 to your opponent and gain 2. So I was a fan of the second one, but I think making it a 3/2 is also fine, makes it trade less efficiently with cards like Shrieking Harpy. Firebolt gets better against it, just generally less good against other aggressive decks, and control decks don't have to use too many resources to get rid of it, because it is a very powerful effect when they do get rid of it still. It's a good change. Similarly, Moonlight Werebat, probably just in general the most powerful swingy Prophecy in the game, early especially, down to 2 health, really reduces the effectiveness or its stickiness on board. Less frequently will it live to drain, and even less frequently than that will it live to drain twice, as it does so often now, especially if you're taking trades with it. Still trades favorably with some cards, like 5th Legion Trainer, notably. But definitely a good change there. I think that was the main fix to it. I don't think getting rid of Prophecy would have kept the card intact as far as competitive viability, so I think that's a really good change. Next we see more buffs actually to Orcs. Hrothgar Artisan now has 3 health. This is one of the more powerful Orc synergy cards, so I like that it has a little bit more durability. Actually, it's not that. It's okay, but I mean, it's definitely a slight buff to the archetype, and it's an archetype that hasn't really seen much play. I did play against one Orc player earlier on the ladder who was rank 800, kind of the dumpster, so it's nice to have some hope for this class, or this archetype, especially because so many other decks are getting some much needed nerfs, we could say. And Morkul Gatekeeper, this is a much bigger buff, I think, now has Prophecy. So 3-drop 2 true with guard, gives something +2/+0. With Prophecy, that can be a huge swing card. Any Prophecy guard already is a pretty powerful combination. Along with the buff, aggressive card, defensive card, this could be a very, very good buff for the archetype, like I said with the last one. That's just the other version of Whereabouts, so we don't need to talk about that at all. The last 2 nerfs are pretty severe, though. First, Nokri now costs 9 instead of 10, but only reduces the card of the card you draw from it to 0. So draw a card, that card costs 0, instead of draw a card, the next card you play this turn costs 0. That's a pretty substantial nerf, even though it decreased in cost. I don't think that one would be constructed playable anymore. It's probably the most severe nerf on the list. I guess they really didn't like the Nokri and Odahviing combo. As someone in my chat pointed out earlier, when you can Nokri into an Odahviing early, not only that, but then you could brilliant experiment the Odahviing, and you have a 0-cost Odahviing in your hand. They really did do a number on both parts of that combo. In general, both Brilliant Experiment and Nokri are solid cards for control anyway. I guess is one of the ways to slightly reduce the efficiency of cheating things into play, which is really important. That can get out of hand really quickly if you let those cards survive. Might have been a little bit of a severe nerf on the card, but I can kind of understand why they did it. It's a very powerful effect, especially because Odahviing is basically like the largest thing you can cheat into play right now because it costs more than Nokri. But if they ever want to create more super powerful 12 drops for decks that can run blue, you kind of want to keep that in check because it could lead to some very crazy games. Unfun to play against in the late game. I can understand that. Schemer now has 3 attack. Would like to see some devs respond if it's fake or not. Yeah, but I mean, it's a secret, but we're just speculating. But Schemer now has 3 attack instead of 4. That's a pretty substantial nerf because Schemer can be traded with cards like Soul Rest Marshal. So not really much to say about that, just makes the card slightly worse, but still for those control decks, one of the best cycle you can play, I think. It's hard to judge any of these potential nerfs, not only because they're, potentially not real, but because it's hard to see how all of these changes, when you have 1 or 2 nerfs, you can kind of make assumptions on how the meta would change. But as we saw with Hisgrove, even a 1-card change or addition or subtraction to the pool can make a huge difference. All of these nerfs are sure to stir some things up, even if one nerf isn't as big of an impact as one whole new card. These nerfs do seem to be impactful. So my general thoughts are they all seem like things that could happen, which is why I'm leaning towards this being legit. Ungolem is kind of a surprise to not see on the list, but they did touch the 3 most important green cards that needed to be hit, if it is real, such as Werebat, House Kinsman, and the Tazcat, all of which I think are slightly more powerful than Ungolem, because Ungolem does rely on you drawing the Brotherhood Assassins, and is really only completely overpowered in Arena. But that's fine to have cards that are really good in Arena, right? Especially if they're legendary. I'm also very surprised at not seeing Soul Rest Marshal get a nerf again if it is real. If you guys hear me talk about nerfs at all, you're probably used to me saying Soul Rest Marshal is probably the best card in the game in my opinion. I still think it shouldn't be allowed to get itself. I think even a simple errata of saying reduce the next card you play this turn by 5 except for Soul Rest Marshal would be sufficient. You don't need to really reduce the effect's usability past that. But it did come to mind when I was just talking about how Elusive Schemer can trade into those 4/4s that they didn't touch Soul Rest if it is real. Again, everyone take this with a grain of salt, because we do not have any official word on this. This is simply what you see in front of you, which is a Reddit thread and a bunch of comments, so get out there and talk about them. Feel free to post your opinions of these potential speculative nerfs in the description below. What would you like to see differently? Do you like them? Do you dislike them, etc.? Fun to talk about, so hopefully you all enjoyed the video and my opinions about these. And stay tuned for regular strategy content tomorrow. See you later, guys.